Christopher, how are you? And I'm excited about our guest today, man.
Yeah, likewise, I am too. You guys want to definitely get excited about this guest. He's doing some really amazing work in school protection and safety. Kyle here is the owner of All Safe app. He's and founder and has been building a platform to help protect against school violence and shootings in the Georgia area. His program will then expand to the nationally, but right now, he's doing a pilot in the state of Georgia. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. It's amazing to have you on and to talk about your mission today.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. I appreciate the exposure that this podcast could potentially show our program to the rest of the country.
Absolutely. The Growth Labs podcast, we're all about entrepreneurship, growth operators, and hearing people's stories, right? So just tell us real briefly, what is All Safe and how did you get started?
So basically, like every other parent in the country, I get sick to my stomach every time I watch one of these news stories about an incident that occurs. And over my research over the years, I've just been desperately fighting for all my own kids to have police and protection at their schools that they go to. And through all the bureaucracy and the layers of government, it's just been very difficult to get a unified solution. So what I'm hoping to do is to put all parents and all children and all teachers on the same platform where no matter whether you go to a public school, private school, daycare, or any type of gathering that you might be at where kids are present, everyone feels safe under the same unified program.
And I think that's key because if they're not all communicating together, we're not going to know what's going on.
Absolutely. I think the lack of communication of clear and concise instruction, as well as a difference from county to county, state to state of what the protocols exist for school emergencies or threats that are posted online, or maybe a student that's having a mental health crisis. Our solution focuses on mental health only, and we don't want police with guns to respond to our children. We don't want to create any type of criminal history or something that's going to follow them through their life as they try to get jobs. What we want to do is try to meet them where they're at and address bullying or some type of online abuse that they may be experiencing before it results in a violent outburst.
Yeah, I think that's super important to do a lot of the preventative measures as opposed to be super reactionary, especially when these events happen. I can concur with you guys. We're tired of hearing, thoughts and prayers, right? Let's actually make some action happen, right? Tell us a little bit more about All Safe and that core vision that you guys have so far today.
Just want to give some props to you, Chris, and UX Bright team for helping us get to this point and everything you guys have done.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Really awesome. And I just want everyone that's listening to this podcast to know that Chris is an expert in this area. And I appreciate everything you've done to guide us this far. And what we're hoping to do is be the mental health platform where we can have a plainclothes officer that's not threatening, that can respond to any incident and make sure that children feel that they're heard, number one, and that people are concerned with their feelings, so that we can address these things in a way that doesn't stigmatize them or put them in a box where they feel like they're an outlier or an outcast. And I think a lot of children now are being isolated through social media, through bullying, or through the groups that they hang out with online. Once they feel like they're not accepted or they're not good enough to be part of that group, then it goes downhill from there. So what I'm hoping to do is give them an option or an off-ramp where there's an alternative besides jail or accessing a weapon and trying to hurt someone or themselves.
How do you know with your app that specifically there is a potential of a school shooting or some sort of violence?
So the core functionality that Chris and I are building out is to where eventually we will have what we call a tattle bot, which is basically an online bot that finds threatening posts only on public pages, so that we don't violate anyone's expectation of privacy. However, if you're on a public page and you're saying things like, I'm going to attack a school, or I'm going to kill someone, or I'm going to blow up something, or harm people that are innocent, I think that that's something that with a screenshot and maybe a contact with the parents and a telehealth call with that student and a clinician or a crisis intervention specialist is what our core differentiator is we're trying to link these students with the help they need the moment they start asking for it online. When they start posting these concerning things, we're trying to flag that post, let them know that we've seen it, and that we're willing to help them.
Amazing. Yeah. No, I mean that is so important. Just being also that mental health platform to help guide those kids in the right direction, right? I guess speak a little bit more about what you're seeing in Georgia and how the new legislation just recently passed that makes this venture, what you're doing, so worthwhile.
Okay. Holt Persinger, who is the representative for the House state of Georgia for Appalachia, where I think everyone saw the news stories about that unfortunate incident that happened in Appalachia High School. His district actually authored the legislation of HB 268, which stands for House Bill 268 here in Georgia, and the governor actually signed it. And what this does is provide not only the records of every student, follow the students from district to district if they get transferred, but it also provides the mental health support through and a anonymous reporting program. So anybody that knows about another student or anybody who hears about a plot or someone feels threatened by someone at a school, this law allows them to report that through the anonymous reporting platform to where they don't have to feel fear of retaliation. However, they can get the school or the resource officers to respond. And then in addition to that, this law also provides support for the mental health aspect of it to where the telehealth call or the school counselor can spend time with that student and interact with the parents and make sure that that action plan is put in place to where that student is no longer suspended from school or stigmatized. They're actually brought into a program that can channel their anger, channel their frustration, and put them on a path to a positive resolution. So I think that HB 268 supports all of those aspects. And then also, the main thing that HB 268 also does is it unlocks funds for some of the schools that may not have a resource officer, may not have money to pay for a counselor. That's huge because a lot of students really need the support of a counselor and they're not able to access.
Right. Why mental health versus other security apps that are out there? Safety security apps.
I think honestly, the mental health aspect of it is what is missing in today's solutions. Right now, everything is basically a SWAT team or some type of, heavily response with guns and rifles and things like that. And I think that further escalates the situation and makes things more dangerous. And so what I'm hoping to do is before the students actually go through with their violent action or with their plan, we're able to intervene or reroute that anger to where the student is able to not only have the counselor appointment they might need, but we want to enroll them in a program such as self-defense, such as kickboxing, such as something, maybe wrestling, or something that can teach them those confident self-defense skills that they may feel they don't have and why they're being bullied.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really huge. To that point, right, of why your solution versus others, what are some other unique differentiators that your business is doing that other platforms aren't right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest in my customer research that I found is a lot of parents find that when there is an incident at the school, even if the incident is resolved in a satisfactory way, there's still a huge amount of panic. And a lot of the students will have parents come to the school with their own guns or, in a G.I. Joe mode where they're going to come, rescue everybody and save the day. But what that does is creates a challenge for the police officers that are, first of all, trying to get a hold of the campus and restore order. But now you've got a bunch of parents showing up with their own mental health issues or anger towards the school. And what they're ended up doing is they're creating a scenario that is even more of a panic and even more of a danger because you've got armed parents, you've got armed police, and you've got students running around and they're trying to reunite with their family. And so what our app does that differentiates is we have an I'm okay button. And that tells the parents, not only is the child okay, but it reunites the two dots on the map where their phone is and the other phone is and brings them to a reunification location, which could be maybe the football field or maybe somewhere the church across the street from the school or something that's adjacent to the campus itself where is a safe area and is not right in the middle of the school campus.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we talked about is that big gap, right, that we saw was when the communication channels break down when these, events happen, and parents are often left in the dark. So I think that's an incredibly important part of your solution is providing that communication platform.
Totally. I mean, and like I said, I never told you this hat I wore, Chris. Christopher, I used to work in the marketing department for Lensec, and it was a video management software for security cameras, commercial, and big vertical market with schools. And I worked with the PASS organization and really learned, which is Partner Alliance for Safer Schools. And I have a connection there. And what I learned in the process is ultimately setting up all these measures, being able to identify the deterrent before it happens would save so many more school shootings. So do you bring in any of the security side, or are you more on the safety side?
So what we try to focus on is prevention, like Chris was saying. However, we do have a way in the app where if a school does not have an officer that's present on a school day, they can book an officer to the school or event that they're hosting. So say they have like a football game or they have a graduation or they have something that requires more than just a standard school. And
He's slowing down.
5 to 7 incomes.
Hey, Kyle.
I guess so. So we'll just go back, Chris. Let's just jump right back into this while he's talking. I think that he's losing, but he gave up so much information. And it's very interesting to talk about the security officer. So, Christopher, because of our guests so much, kind of give a little bit more, and we'll see if he's back rolling again. Like his background that makes him why is he the right person to build this app?
Yeah, so from what I know about Kyle and getting to know him, just through helping him and assisting him in his product development journey, he originally started the Parent Safety Alliance, which was a nonprofit, designated to helping dads against violence and moms against violence, and he built this coalition, a great coalition down there in Georgia, and this coalition, he has the support of universities, politicians. He's very well connected with the political scene down there in Georgia, and so I think Kyle is a pioneer and a trailblazer in his own right, and he's actively working on this daily. And
that's fantastic.
That's not something unseen, right? Some people say like, yeah, I want to fix it, but no one's really committed truly like I've seen Kyle really put his life on the line for this type of work. So we see the vision for what Kyle is building, and we want to support him in his journey and getting him from 0 to 1, which is the first version of the product, and working in good shape. So,
well, congratulations for everything you're doing, Kyle. Let's make sure to see if you're available, if you're still cutting off or not.
Yes, sir. I appreciate those kind words, Chris. Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I mean, as a parent myself, I commend you for you taking action and to do this where a security industry has not. So, and you're partnering with the security industry. I think you're getting cut off. You are partnering with the security industry because you see the importance of having that security guard or that police officer in the school. Without them there, that's the number one deterrent first.
Yes, sir. The visible deterrence of having an officer that you can see in front of a school, I think, is a really big deterrent for anyone who may be staking out a school or taking a look to see if it's a soft target or not. But the one thing that makes our program special is the officers that we book to our school are the ones that live in that same neighborhood. So we're providing the officers a second income on their off day, but we're booking the same officer to the same school every week when they have their off day. And what we're praying happens is that these students develop a relationship or a mentorship with this officer, and they can confide in that officer and be friends with that officer and trust that officer for guidance and for help in challenging situations. Whereas a lot of kids now are scared to death of their police officer that may be at their school because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble or that that officer is looking to investigate them somehow. And what we're hoping to do is make the officer an advocate for these students to where they feel they're on their side and they're not there to search their pockets or their book bag or worry about the students themselves. They're more worried about external threats, which is in our society today has kind of shifted to that.
Right. Absolutely. You have such an incredible vision, Kyle. And I think when you share with others, very much so we're able to join in on that vision. What are those things that you need right now, that you can, shout out to the world or in Neil's audience? What are those things that you need right now that would help you accelerate this mission to help protect our kids?
That's a great question. Okay, so you mentioned a few minutes ago the mom's on a mission and the dad's on duty,
right,
which are the two sides of the Parent Safety Alliance. What I would hope to do, if we could possibly over time, is build a coalition of parents nationwide where we have moms and dads that in a non-violent, non-confrontational way and are respectful when they go to school board meetings and go to city council meetings. They form alliances with these politicians and say, hey, listen, we want you to stay in office. We want to support you. But the only way that parents can be behind your campaign is if you keep our kids and teachers safe. And I think that's a very fair ask and something that any parent would agree with. And I think a lot of teachers that we're losing our teachers at a huge rate in the sense that the best talented teachers are leaving their job because they're afraid of what could happen. And what we're trying to do is make sure that if a teacher does feel afraid, they're not expected to arm themselves and become all of a sudden a security officer. What we're hoping is that we can fill in the gaps at schools, K through 5 especially, that do not already have an officer present, and take those gaps and fill them in with the officers that are on their off days able to fill in. And then from there also, over time, I think that relationship that's built between the officers and the students could breed new security officers or new careers for these students that become resource officers because they have a connection with that officer they grew up with in high school. And
I love it.
No,
I think your vision is amazing. And Christopher, I think that there's so many opportunities of partnerships. I guess I'll announce this, and I've not announced it a few times, that I'm launching my business Total Tutor again. We're going to be focusing with athletes, bringing the tutoring business back across the country, but we're also going to be working with school districts, and we're going to be partnering with a company called EDU, and they have an AI tutoring company slash test prep, all the different things in individualized instruction learning that Total Tutor will be launching. And one of our arms of what my mission was in my old business was the schools and keeping our kids safe. Worked with PASS before in a way, but I'm going to definitely add this to my mix of organizations to keep an eye out for, and also put that out there when I'm relaunching the education side of the business.
No, absolutely, sir. Thank you. And then when you said the tutoring, I think, tutoring and mentorship is the key.
Well, hey, so there you go. So this is where I'm putting my hat back. Yep. COVID 2020, I closed the doors. I did try tutoring in 2020, but I closed the doors of my tutoring business. Now with the growth of my other agency and looking at tutoring as an important opportunity, that's why we're partnering with EDU to launch the software with Total Tutor. And I am going to be providing consulting, IEP consultation, go back as an educational advocate, which I was before. And so I see some real great synergy. But Christopher sees this. I've told him this the first day I told you to do a podcast, Christopher. What did I tell you? I said, this is the way you're going to be able to connect so many people together.
Absolutely.
It's,
Yes, these conversations at scale.
oh
That's
my
what's really going
gosh.
to
Yeah.
change the minds and hearts of people and inspire them to change action. So, yeah, understood.
All right.
Beautiful.
And thank you very much for including me in this podcast, because that's the one thing I was talking to Chris about, that over time, my main challenge has been reaching people outside of Georgia, and so I feel that this could be one way.
I have a very connections in the vertical markets as well,
Yeah.
in the schools, because of my former educator myself, and some exciting things coming down the pike. So, where is the best place, people? Christopher, anything else to add before we let him go? Is there anything else you want to ask him, Chris?
Well, my last real question really is just, what are some key insights that you would leave potentially a concerned parent nowadays, right? It seems like nothing's happening in local governments, state governments. What's your message to those parents who seem like they're losing hope?
Well, in my research of every school shooting that has occurred in the last 15 years, I'd say the one commonality and the one specific thing that I found happens before every school shooting is a concerning social media post. So if we can just encourage parents to pay attention and don't ignore these posts, whereas I think a lot of people say, "Oh, he won't do that. She doesn't mean that. That's just a joke."
Not
But
true.
nowadays, it may not be a joke, and that's why we have to really look when people start posting these concerning things. I don't think that they should be thrown in jail. I think that we need to have the right conversations with them and figure out what the root of it is, whether it's bullying, depression, something's going on outside of the family that we need to get a hold of. I think that the concerning post is the way that we can say, hey, wait a minute, this person's asking for help. That's what that is. When somebody makes a threat online, they're asking for help. So we, as parents, we need to recognize that.
Wow. Super powerful stuff. We appreciate everything, Kyle. What's the best place to find information about AllSafe?
AllSafeApp.com. AllSafeApp.com.
Awesome. And then, are you on any social medias at all? We could find you.
Yes, we're AllSafe App on Instagram, and that will be being built out soon. And then also the Parents with an S, Parents Safety Alliance on Facebook. And I'm looking to expand all of those networks and try to build that out nationwide with your help, Chris. And with your help also, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Haley.
You're welcome. All right. That, and go to uxbright.com right now and schedule a call with Christopher today. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Growth Labs